So, you're sitting in your seat, about to board a plane, and your curiosity is bubbling up. What exactly do pilots do during that moment when the wheels start to leave the ground? Maybe you've wondered if they just sit back and let everything happen automatically, or maybe you imagine them frantically checking instruments. Let's peel back the curtain on this mysterious phase of flight. First things first, pilots aren't just waiting for the plane to take off. Far from it. They're busy making sure every system is in tip-top shape. Before we even start up the engines, they've already done a thorough pre-flight check, double-checked their charts and weather conditions, and planned their route down to the tarmac. And then, when you hear that announcement over the intercom, ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. It usually means the plane is ready for takeoff. But what's actually happening during those few moments before you feel the plane moving? Here's where things get exciting. First, the pilots coordinate with air traffic control to ensure there are no other aircraft in their immediate vicinity. It's like waiting for a green light at an intersection. Everyone has to be clear of the runway. Next, they start their engines and monitor the instruments closely. They're checking engine gauges like oil pressure and temperature, making sure everything is within safe limits. It's as if they're prepping a car before hitting the highway, but on steroids. Then comes the moment you've been waiting for. The throttles are advanced to full power. The plane starts to move forward, slowly at first, then gradually picking up speed. This is when the pilots are focusing intensely, making sure the plane is rolling smoothly and efficiently down the runway. And here's the surprising part. Just as the plane approaches its liftoff speed, they do something crucial. They disengage the auto throttle. You might think it would be easier for the autopilot to handle takeoff, but in reality, manual control gives pilots greater precision and flexibility during this critical phase. So, in a nutshell, while you're settling back into your seat, the pilots are performing a series of meticulous checks and coordinating actions to ensure safety and efficiency. It's no wonder they say a prayer or two before liftoff. The very first thing pilots do when preparing for takeoff, they make sure all their instruments are in perfect order, just like you double-check your watch before an important meeting. These instruments, known as avionics, give them crucial information about the plane's speed, altitude, and direction. Pilots start by checking the airspeed indicator. This gauge shows how fast the plane is moving relative to the air around it. They ensure it's working correctly because knowing exactly how fast they're going is critical for a safe takeoff. Next, they check the altimeter, which tells them how high the plane is above sea level. It's like checking the time before you leave your house. If something seems off, you know to double-check it quickly. Then, there's the heading indicator, or HSI, which shows the direction the plane is pointing relative to magnetic north. Imagine you're driving a car and need to make sure your GPS is correctly set before hitting the road. Pilots do the same thing here. Finally, they check the attitude indicator, which helps them understand how the plane's nose is pointed in relation to the horizon. It's like making sure your car's steering wheel is aligned properly so you can see the road clearly. By doing these checks quickly and methodically, pilots ensure that all systems are running smoothly before they even step into the cockpit for takeoff. It's just as important to get everything right here as it would be to double-check your schedule before a big meeting. Okay, so what happens next? Well, after all that preparation in the cockpit, they're ready to communicate with the people on the ground. It's like coordinating with a team before starting your car. First, there's communication with the ground crew. These are the folks who make sure everything is spot on. They check the engines, ensure all the tires are properly inflated, and that everything looks good from their perspective. The pilots will usually do a quick verbal check-in or a wave to confirm things are ready. It's like making sure your car has enough gas before you head out on a trip. And here's the surprising part. Even though it might seem like a simple step, this is crucial because if there's an issue, fixing it now saves everyone a lot of trouble later. Think of it as double-checking that your seatbelt is secure before pulling away from the curb. No one wants to be in a situation where something could go wrong mid-flight. Then, they talk to the control tower, the air traffic management team, who help manage all the planes on and around the airport. It's like when you get instructions from your GPS about which lane to change into before merging onto the highway. The pilots will give their plans for takeoff and landing to the control tower, and the tower will confirm everything is clear. This step ensures everyone is on the same page. If there are any issues, like a plane needing a quick pushback or if weather conditions might affect takeoff, they could be addressed before the engines even start up. All right, so we've cleared the ground crew, talked to the control tower, and now it's time to engage all those fancy systems that help keep you safe, like making sure the autopilot knows when to kick in. It's a bit like setting up your GPS before a long drive. First things first, the pilots check the flight management computer, FMC, to confirm their takeoff parameters. This is where they set everything from speed limits to altitude targets. It's like checking the maps and directions on your phone to make sure you know exactly where you're going. Next up, they arm the auto throttle system. Think of this as setting cruise control in your car. The auto throttle will automatically adjust engine power as needed to maintain a steady speed. This is incredibly helpful because maintaining that perfect speed throughout takeoff can be tricky, even for experienced pilots. Then comes the autopilot. Pilots engage it just before lifting off the ground. It's like using the cruise control when you're driving on a long stretch of road where you need to stay at a constant speed. The autopilot helps keep everything smooth and stable once off the runway. They also set up the flight director, which shows guidance cues on the display screens in front of them. These are like the arrows on your GPS that tell you when to turn or go straight. They help the pilots know exactly what to do with the controls during takeoff. And here's the surprising part. Even though it might seem like a fully automated process, pilots still have their hands on the yoke and the throttle throughout this phase. It's not just about pressing buttons. They're monitoring everything closely and ready to intervene if needed. The autopilot is there as an assistant, not a replacement. So, by engaging all these systems, pilots set themselves up for a successful and smooth takeoff. It's like packing all your gear before a trip. Every little thing has its purpose, making the journey that much safer and more reliable. Okay, so now that both engines are revving like they should and all the systems are ready, it's time for the real fun. Those few seconds we spend running down the runway at breakneck speed. It's like a race car driver hitting the throttle on a racetrack, but with a whole lot more space. Imagine you're in your favorite sports car, revving the engine and feeling that incredible power as it builds up under you. That's pretty much what the cockpit feels like during takeoff. The engines are giving out all their thrust, pushing the plane down the runway with everything they've got. And here's the surprising part. Every second counts. Pilots have a precise speed at which we need to be moving before liftoff can happen. If we're too slow, the plane won't have enough momentum to lift off successfully. If we go too fast, it wastes fuel and time. So, we got just that right balance. The runway is like a long straightaway where you hit your top speed before the checkered flag. In planes, though, we don't have a checkered flag. Instead, the transition from ground to air happens almost imperceptibly. The plane starts rolling, gathering speed, and as soon as it reaches that critical point, bam, the wheels leave the runway. It's incredibly smooth thanks to modern technology, but in your mind, you might feel a slight jolt as the plane lifts off just before the end of the runway. And there you are, soaring high above the tarmac. And that's it. Pilots ensure everything is smooth and safe, just like when a seasoned driver gets their car up to speed. It's all about maintaining control and building momentum. As we hit the 70 to 80 knots mark, or around 125 to 150 kilometers per hour, the nose of the plane will start to rise slightly. This is called rotating the aircraft. The pilots have been monitoring the runway and adjusting their speed and angle just right. The moment they hit that sweet spot, they'll pull back on the control column ever so gently, like easing off a gas pedal while driving uphill. This subtle action causes the plane's nose to rise, and the flaps and slats start to retract. They're fine-tuning these maneuvers to ensure we get into that ideal flying position. Once the plane is in its climbing posture, the pilots will smoothly increase the engine thrust if needed, just like pressing harder on a car's accelerator when you're merging onto a highway. This helps us pick up speed and climb out of the airport's airspace quickly and safely. It's all about maintaining that smooth transition from ground to air. Pilots are highly trained to handle every tiny detail, making sure everything is exactly as it should be. Just like how a driver ensures their car has enough momentum before they start heading up an incline, Pilots make sure the plane has enough speed and control at this critical moment. And here's the surprising part. Once we're safely in the air, we won't even notice these adjustments anymore. It just fades into the background of our flight, smooth as can be. So now you know what happens during takeoff and how pilots keep us safe every step of the way. Isn't it amazing?